Hi, everybody. It's Dennis with TSANet. Welcome to this webinar on the TSANet Connect update. I'm just going to do a brief introduction of myself. I'm president of TSANet. I'm going to introduce you to Paul Esch. He'll introduce himself, and he's basically going to run the show this morning. If you're new to TSANet Connect, or maybe even new to TSANet, this is our platform that we've now had coming on 2 years. We've got almost everybody moving over to it. It seems to be very well adopted and a very good way for members to be able to collaborate with each other without getting caught up in all the data protection and privacy issues and all that kind of stuff. So instead of me rambling on about it, I'm going to turn this over to Paul. He's going to walk you through not only the basics of it, but also an update on where we stand and maybe a little bit to look into the future. If you want to ask any questions going through this, I'm going to be monitoring the questions, so you'll be able to take a look at that, and Paul will be able to answer those. And Paul, let me get you over here, and I think you are on the air. Go ahead.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Dennis. So I'm going to go through, if you're new to TSANet Connect, just a couple of slides that kind of bring you quickly up to speed. I won't spend a lot of time on that. And then I'll spend most of the time on what we've been doing with TSANet Connect as far as looking at the usage, understanding how to improve, some features that just went out in the September release, and then kind of what's coming before the end of the year. So just a quick overview on TSANet Connect. As Dennis indicated, it is our platform for collaboration. It's replaced a couple of legacy systems, and a majority of our members have moved over. I got a slide that will kind of highlight exactly where we are with that. But it's an extremely simple system to use. If you look at the actual process for TSANet Connect, it's really focused around connecting the two engineers together. So just really kind of a simple handshake. Once the handshake's done, then the engineers are back working in their respected CRM or ticketing systems to resolve the case with their normal ways of working and processes in place. So the way to look at this is from a sender side. You're going to the system, you're finding the member you want to collaborate with, you're filling out a very simple, straightforward form. Once you press submit, depending on how the receiving member is connected to TSANet Connect, it could be that they just receive a simple email. It could be integrated to actually create a case in their system. And then you, the sender, will get an acknowledgement back with the case number, who the engineer is, and kind of what the next steps are. And as you can see from that standpoint, both endpoints have all the information they need to start to collaborate and work the issue. And we stay away from storing sensitive data and information like that to keep us away from GDPR, data privacy, all those types of things that, of course, are very important to everybody today. So that's just an overview of TSANet Connect. One of the other things that we moved to with TSANet Connect is really having an open, very flexible system. So it is purely kind of built on an API interface, but our approach to integration to TSANet Connect is to understand the system that we're integrating with and leveraging their API. We found that is much easier. So, for example, if your system can receive a JSON message or an XML message, or say it just wants a simple email to case format, we can quickly accommodate that. So it's been very easy for us to integrate to systems for inbound workflow. But we also have, of course, quite a bit of flexibility since it's a system we've developed and created, so it's arguably member owned. So we're happy to work with members as well to do any type of common coding or anything like that. So we've had some examples of that. We did some integration with Cisco, and we're in the process of doing some stuff with Microsoft. So again, we're happy to work with members as well to get it working how that member needs it to work. So taking a look at the real high level timeline, we created the system back in 2018, pulling, I would say, 10 or 12 top members together. We created a technology committee. We kind of went through exactly what this should do, created some prototypes, got a lot of feedback. So it really was a collaborative development effort in 2018. In 2019, we did deploy the system. If you remember, if you're around through 2019, it was a very phased approach. But we enter here into 2020, where now all members are on the system. We've ramped down all the other systems, and really 2020 has been focusing on getting the system in use, getting the usage up, working out any of the kinks, getting all the members also on the TSANet Connect process, because there was some that we brought over to the system that still had static processes, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But this is really kind of the high-level timeline. If you look at the usage, we have seen a good month-over-month increase. We had a little bit of softness in the summer months, but we see that trending back up now. So far, October looks like it's going to be higher than September. So I think we're on track here to continue to kind of add volume. Certainly, we'd like to see more volume than this. If you look at the top open group users, I would say month over month, the top 5 to 10 haven't really changed, right? So these, if you kind of look at the ones I've highlighted here, these are really the members that have really helped get the system off the ground, or the ones that are really driving the volume. So if you're on the call, certainly thanks for that. It's really kind of helped get the system on some solid footing here. And then we've started to see some change here in kind of the other users. So certainly, there's some new folks showing up here. And I would say if you haven't seen yourself on this list, definitely something to take a look at. Certainly contact us. We're happy to work with you on, why could that be? Is it something where some training, some awareness? And I'll talk a little bit about what we've been doing on that side as well. But here's the overall view of the usage of the system. Probably the top priority that we've had for 2020 is to get all of the members on the TSANet Connect process. This down from 16 is really the last update on it that I gave back in kind of the June timeframe. We probably started the year, I'd say, with 25 or so members that were still on what we call static document, meaning we just brought their existing way of working over to the new system, so they could make outbound requests with a new way of working. But if members collaborated inbound to them, they would still see the old process and way of working. But we've made good progress now. We're down to 11 members. I highlighted the top 4, and again, we kind of put some spotlight on these because we feel these are some of our big members that would drive a lot of volume, and we get a lot of questions on, hey, when are they going to switch over to TSANet Connect? So be confident that we're working pretty hard to make that happen. I would say 2 out of 4 of these we're getting pretty close. You can see Cisco, we've had in beta for a while. I think we're ready to get that expanded out. And some of the others we're starting to make some first progress there. So I would feel pretty comfortable in saying we'll have 2 out of 4 of those live here fairly shortly. The other 2 may take a little bit more effort. And then you can see here I listed some of the others that you might find here. Again, some of these might be important to you, but I would say pretty confident that all of those will be migrated over. I think we'll exit the year with maybe 2 or 3 that still have not moved over. And obviously that would be our priority for 2021. Okay, so that's with the conversion. If I move over to the system releases, we have just finished the September release. And one thing to note when I say the September release, we actually release new functionality every week to the production system if it is fully tested and ready. So this isn't the type of release process where we're working on a whole bunch of stuff. We hold it back until a particular date. We do have a weekly release cycle. It kind of covers the what's ready in beta, what's been fully tested, and if it's ready, it goes out. So a lot of these you've seen much before September. But the first 3 I like to kind of call out a little bit. It was really our focus for the last several months, and that was improving the security of the system. And there's probably 2 or 3 members that really push us pretty hard there to to make sure that the system was up to speed as far as security-wise before they would do certain integrations. So, for example, hey, before we allow you to automatically create a case in our system or maybe activate single sign-on, of course, we had to talk to their IT teams, and quite a few of our members have pretty rigid system validation processes in place. So a lot of these required us to have penetration testing completed. So we did that, and the system has now passed both network and application layer penetration testing. We got company Security Dynamics that helped us with that. And that did highlight a few things that we needed to fix. So all of those fixes are in place. We also improved the email deliverability, added some additional security on that side. And then the third thing is a couple of the members highlighted that we should be encrypting the data at rest. Arguably, we don't store a lot of data in there, as we highlighted. There's no ongoing troubleshooting information. We actually removed the customer information as soon as the message has been acknowledged. But even with that, the view was that everything should be encrypted. So we've completed that. And then if you look at the rest of these, I'm not going to go through each and every one. I would say they tend to fall into 2 or 3 categories, and then highlight, really where our priorities are. The first is making sure it's very easy to support partner groups. So you can see here some fixes to SLAs and partner groups, some fixes to the sign-up process, some fixes to the admin feature. So we're just trying to make it easier and easier for members to have partner groups, have those work really well, allow us to properly manage those. So that certainly has been a priority. And then the second is kind of user derived feedback. I would say probably the most asked one here is number 6. So we had quite a few members that were asking, hey, as admins, we would like to see on the process form the actual escalation process, who the process owner is, so we can communicate manager to manager if there's some systemic issue, or say you wanted to create a new process. They just wanted more information that they can leverage as management. So if you're familiar with the TSANet Connect process, the escalation process always was part of the transaction, but you didn't see it until you press submit. So now if you're a manager, you see all of that that information there. And then other little things as far as usability with the phone widget, few things along those areas. So then looking into the December release, we've got a couple items here that I've put in bold. Again, back to the priorities. We definitely, as you saw on that earlier slide, we want all 4 of those large members to be on the TSANet Connect process. Microsoft is one of them, so we're devoting some time to integrating with their API. We've also seen an improvement in the members that have implemented single sign-on. So we've taken and made a few improvements there. We plan on doing a few more improvements in the December release. And I would say if you're a large member and have, a sport organization more than 100 people, and you're using single sign-on within your infrastructure, definitely reach out to us to activate single sign-on. It makes it so much easier for your engineers to get access. Nobody has to manage users anymore. It just works, and it's all part of your IT environment, right? Your users just simply either click a towel or go to the login page. They use their corporate login credentials. If they don't have a login, it's dynamically created. It's just a much better experience for everybody involved. So definitely, if you haven't activated single sign-on, I would reach out to us and we can get that going. The other thing you see here with number 3, if you look at our membership profile, we've got over 750 members now, so quite a few members. But about 650 of those members are what we call limited members. So they have maybe 1 connection to a member, maybe 2, maybe 3, and we purposely made the system much simpler to use. We removed a lot of their capabilities, but what we're seeing now is some requests to give them some additional capabilities. So the primary one is in the area of allowing them to manage users. We had kind of made all that simple for them. When they signed up, we just automatically created 1 admin user, and then dynamically it would create callers, but now we allow that admin to go in and maybe create an additional admin or change the profile of a user. So we are finding that some limited members need a little bit more access than we had given them. And then number 4, we are going to develop a standard method to auto respond. We have already done, I would say, 2 or 3 integrations with member CRM systems, and they have included the auto response, right? So I would say maybe 60% or 70% of members do use the email to case functionality, but they still do the manual response to the case. We've done a few now where we've done an auto response. So almost all CRM systems, when they create a case, they have the capability to have an email trigger to send an email back to a certain place, and we're going to give them a template to use in order to do an auto response there. So then you can kind of automate that within your system. And then I would say all the rest of these things are really focused again on improving the partner process and improving our TSANet member capability. And probably the big one here, this is a good segue into the improving usage, is number 6. So we do want, and this will be first and foremost for TSANet admins. Eventually, these would be some of the things we could give to member admins, but we're going to start to analyze logins that didn't result in a collaboration request, right? So what searches did they use? Which page views did they do? So we can try to understand a little bit what could be going wrong, right? Are they searching for members that aren't on the system? Are they viewing a static document, or are they viewing a process form that maybe has a field on there that's confusing or they didn't have? So I think it allows us to start to try to understand a little bit more where unsuccessful collaboration requests are, right? So again, these are things where I've logged into the system, I've looked around, and I didn't do anything. And I think obviously sometimes there's an interest to log into a system and look around, maybe if you're a first-time user. But in general, I think the assumption is if there's an engineer that's going to the system, they wanted to collaborate. So if they didn't, we do want to understand why that's happening. So adding a little bit more insight into that will certainly help. So moving then into what we've really been working on for 2020. And we originally, as we entered this year, we said these are the 3 things that we need to make sure that we do to increase the usage of the system and to get members to adopt it. The first one, making sure it's easy to use, making sure we've got all the system integration, just removing any barrier that we could. And I think we've done a great job there. We've gotten feedback really from members, any new member. Whenever we show the system, everybody is, hey, that's super simple to use, and that makes a lot of sense. So I think we're in pretty good shape there. The second one, when searching, I find my partner. Again, really what we've been trying to do this year is add more and more partner programs. In fact, we've added the concept of a default partner program for any premium member so that if other limited members wanted to connect with them, there's a super easy way to do that. So essentially trying to just really make sure that it's easy for people to collaborate with each other. And we've certainly seen an improvement in the number of members. We're well above the 750 plus area there. So I think number of members are there. Certainly there's probably still some members that are missing, and that's where the analysis of the search queries is going to help. But certainly if you have a member that you want to collaborate with, we have many ways to bring them on. So again, that's one of those things that you can reach out to us. And then the third thing that we really started doing right away when the system was in use is this: when I submit a request, I get a response. So if you're using the TSANet Connect process, you see that handshake that's been designed in there. We watch that handshake, and if that handshake doesn't occur, then there's a automatic escalation process that triggers off, sends some emails, but it also shows up in our escalation queue, and we get involved and try to figure out why didn't you get a response. We work with a member and get you a response. We try to fix the court issue with their inbound process. So our goal is to make sure that, you know, if you're an engineer and you come to the site and you fill out somebody's form and press submit, you're going to get a connection. So that's something that TSANet staff has been working on all year. But our original view was these really are the only things that we need to work on. And you saw there from the volume, we've been increasing volume, but again, we're really hoping for a higher hockey stick here as far as usage goes. So what we did is we worked with one member, and I'll call them out because we owe a lot of gratitude to them, and that's VMware. They let us work with them and kind of really dig into their CRM data. And we did some analysis, combining some data here with TSANet Connect data, doing some analysis to where we could really try to understand what's the actual usage through TSANet Connect and what's the opportunity for usage with TSANet Connect. And what we did in short was in a case within their CRM system, you could tell if there was collaborators, right? And we matched those collaborators against TSANet members. So for example, if there was an IBM.com email address as a collaborator in one of their cases, we know that they were working with IBM. So let's understand that they transact a collaboration request through TSANet Connect, or how are they working? And it gave us quite a bit of insight. We found really some things that didn't show up on that first page, right? So I would say the number one thing that we found was, in some cases, there was legacy process that were in place, and obviously they were put in place well before TSANet Connect. I think we were kidding ourselves that, hey, we'll launch TSANet Connect and everybody will shut down all their previous legacy processes, just use TSANet Connect, right? If you got something that was working, you're probably going to continue to use it. So we need to understand what these things are, make sure that TSANet Connect can do a better job. In a lot of cases, it certainly can, because we find a lot of the legacy processes are simply people emailing people they know. So certainly this is a lot more comprehensive, a lot more repetitive. It's certainly a much little more robust process than any, I know Joe over at this member company. So taking a look at those legacy processes and trying to get them over. Number two, again, we've seen some improvements here where we make it super easy, right? This is one of these, making sure there's no barrier for an engineer. Although it's not that hard to get an account today, it's much easier if you don't even have to get an account. You just click on an icon and it works. So as many people we can get on single sign-on, we're certainly trying to do that. The other, number three, that we found, and in some cases, I think our understanding as we really analyze these, and how we analyze those was, we got like a set of issues where we saw, hey, it looks like the customer put the two vendors together. We actually got those two vendors on a call, had them look at each of their CRM systems to try to understand, did the customer really initiate this, or did member A tell the customer, hey, you really need to talk to this other company? And that's really the thing that we want to fix with TSANet, right, is a whole finger pointing. We found probably a little bit 50-50. Half of them, it was clear that the customers were getting finger pointed. The other half, though, the customer kind of took it upon themselves. In some cases, it's kind of natural. So I don't think we'll ever get rid of 100% of these. But I do feel once the engineers do get connected, we do need we'll call it a very simple way for them to connect their cases together. So we're going to be taking a look at that use case where, hey, the connection's already been made by the customer, but let's link these cases together so we can have that visibility and escalation process and all those things, outside of pointing it back to the customer. And I think number 4 and 5 really kind of go together. And this is something we really need to work with our members to help us with. The first is, there is a lot of this legacy thinking of, this is what TSANet is, here's where we can use it, here's where we can't use it, here's how well it works, all that type of stuff. There's a lot of history and baggage in that area. There's really, at this point, there's no use case that TSANet couldn't support when it comes to multi-vendor collaboration. So I think that's really removed with the introduction of things like partner programs and solution support programs. All those things now can support really any type of multi-vendor connection that you need, whether it's a strategic connection, you bundle your technology in a product you go to market with, OEMs, that type of thing, or technology partner programs. You've got 200-300 members on it. So there's really no partner multi-vendor solution we can't support with TSANet Connect. And then number 5 we see is there's probably a need to purposely design multi-vendor collaboration in your problem resolution process. And we think probably the most natural place to do that is in your backlog review. You probably don't want to burden, your incoming case assignment with checking that. You probably, in the first, period of fault isolation, right? But certainly once it's sitting in your backlog and that's being reviewed by managers, escalation folks, team leads, those types of folks, it'd be nice to really kind of design as part of that backlog review. Is this a multi-vendor case? Are we working with the other vendor? Should we work with the other vendor? I think you would really highlight some good use cases for that if you spend some time integrating this into your backlog review process. So we highly encourage that. So looking at next steps here, we have really, I think the priorities here are pretty clear. The first one is to get everyone off of these static documents in the TSANet Connect process. So that's all on us, TSANet. Certainly we need the help of the other members, but we'll try to be relentless in working with them, make sure that they get over, because we certainly hear from a lot of members that, until everyone's on it, it really becomes a difficult thing to push really hard. So we want to make sure that that's the case. Number 2, you just saw that was a big focus for 2020, was to work with members, understand their usage, see how can we improve the usage. That is something you're going to see continue here for 2020, and I guarantee it'll be a big push in 2021 as well. As far as improving the system, you saw on the December release, almost all the features and functionality are intended to help drive usage and kind of remove any barriers, that type of thing. Again, we see us continuing to prioritize features and functionality along those sides. And then from TSANet staff viewpoint, we are continuing to be involved in any type of escalation issues. Of course, we're involved with helping understand usage. And that goes without saying, if you're having any questions or you would like us to do analysis on your data and work with you, we're very, very happy to do that. And last but not least, and you'll hear about this when we do our December member meeting, is we are setting the 2021 priorities. So we're really in the process now of setting the new 2021 plans and budgets and priorities, system releases. All that information will be shared on the December call. And with that, Dennis, I'll hand it back to you, see if there's any questions.
Great, thanks, Paul. Yeah, and so you covered a lot of territory there. Some of the big things that I was going to emphasize you already did, right, which was a single sign-on and getting the usage up and that. But I do get these because I end up on the implementation side of this sometimes. And so what I would like you to touch on is, let's say there's a member out there and somebody else implemented them and they really didn't do it, and they want to get more involved in having TSANet come in. What would be a good best practice that you would advise a member company to implement TSANet Connect within their structure? Does that make sense?
Yeah, great question. So I think, first and foremost, I would involve us in that discussion, right? I think we talk to hundreds of members. We know it works, right? I could try to give you a silver bullet, but a short conversation with us would really kind of help make sure that you do the right thing. What we've found a lot of members do at first is try not to design this process as one of these streamlined, high volume, hands-off processes, because that's not what this is. If you're familiar with the collaboration, I guarantee you, look at these collaborations that are going on. They are the nastiest technical problems that you're going to have in your product area, right? So they require high-level resources to kind of work and collaborate. So I always kind of tell members, put this in the escalation category, right? And for those types of things, you want the right visibility, you want the right people involved. So kind of design your process to where it doesn't, just kind of show up as any old case. So I think automation is great. but people looking at things is much better. So I'd say that's kind of probably the biggest general thing. But I think for outbound, I really do feel that a lot of times benefits from a conversation with us. We can show you, and again, we can do analysis on logins as well, right? We can say, okay, here's all your logins. Here's who's actually logged in. Here's what they searched for. Here's what they're doing, and maybe together we can highlight and say, why is this team over here in India using the system a lot, but this team over here in pick a date, Singapore is not using it at all, right? So is it a communication thing? Is it different product groups, right? So a lot of times working together with us will help highlight those things.
Okay, very good. Yeah, and you know, you and I, we've been doing this for a while, and you can kind of see there's a balance, right, between we want to get it out in front of the engineers from one perspective, but we don't want to over-engineer it the other way to where it's being this really convoluted, complex process to get going and to get set up. We are out of time. Thank you so much. A great presentation, Paul. For everybody that's on the call, we will make sure that if you registered for this, you will get this recording. We'll get it out on our website. And again, thank you, Paul, for a great presentation. Appreciate everybody coming in on this. Take care.
All right, thanks a lot. Bye.